Oh, hello, welcome. Here we are together again at last. You've made it. Episode 9. Would you believe it? If you want to get in touch with me, hit me up on Instagram at the Mark Furs. And if you like the podcast, please share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your worst enemy, share it around. I'd really appreciate it. You can even tell by the tone of my voice just how much I love saying those admin things. You would think that I, being an actor, would put on a bit of a performance and pretend like I liked saying it. But no, not today. Not today. All right. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there are 3 things in life that I actually do love. A kettlebell workout, a well-timed high five, and a good, deep chat. And what I have for you is a real good deep chat coming up right now. I'm chatting with Bruce Hopkins, or Hoppo, as everyone knows him. He has been a lifeguard in the Bondi area for 28 years. And according to his Wikipedia page, he's been involved in more resuscitations than any other lifeguard in the entire service. That's pretty impressive. You may have seen him on the factual TV show Bondi Rescue. And if you haven't, you should check it out. It's an incredible show. It really is. He's just a really good bloke. We had a great hang. I learned a whole lot of stuff. So here is Bruce Hoppo Hopkins. Can you hear yourself?
Yeah, I can hear myself.
Beauty. All right. I think we're doing it.
Yeah, let's go.
Welcome to the party. Hoppo. Mate, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no, it's great. Something a bit different.
Yeah.
Being out on the beach.
Yes. You've got a nice view here. You get to sit here all day and just stare at Bondi Beach.
Yeah, can't get much better, this office. It's, beautiful sunny day.
Yeah.
Little waves rolling through.
If I could come and do the rest of my podcasts here, that'd be great. Thanks. Has anyone ever called you David Hasselhoff?
Yeah, well, yeah, we do. We get that a fair bit.
Yeah.
Of people have said it over the years. Now the show's international as well, so
yeah.
Everyone sort of relates it back to Baywatch. And
yeah.
We've had the Hoff has been down here in the tower. And
cool.
Yeah, we've put the shirt on him and he loved it.
The show's huge, right?
The show's in probably 140 countries now and
wow,
all around the world, and it's all on a lot of digital channels and National Geographic and so a lot of cable channels all through the world.
Yeah. You're coming up to season 16, 15.
Yeah, 15. So we've done 14 seasons, which has gone quite quick. It's something that's probably been a bit surreal, really. It's something that, when we first started, it was going to be an hour special. That was about all that got commissioned. And
just a one-off.
Yeah, one-off.
Wow.
Obviously, because the networks weren't sure how much footage they'd get. No one really knew. And we knew down here we'd get a lot of footage. But, the executives didn't have much of an idea about it. But
created a monster.
It opened up their eyes when they started seeing the footage going back each night. And then they were showing, the Channel 10 executives and they said, geez, there's too much here. We think we'll make it a series instead of having just a one-off special.
And that's where it all began. So what were you doing? So you were just...
So I've been working, lifeguarding. I've been working here since 1991. Sort of through the Olympic period. The Olympics was down here in 2000, the beach volleyball, and that was amazing. That was like watching the build for that. It was a 10,000-seat stadium.
Yeah, wow.
And on the beach, and it was an amazing thing. It was 6 months. They drilled that deep into the rock. They had to go right down through the sand into the rock to stabilise it for 100. I think it was a 100-year storm that they were building it for.
Jesus.
And that was an amazing time, the Olympics. And sort of from the Olympics into about 2005, Benny Davies was working here as a casual and he said, I think there's a show in what we do. And so we sat down for another few months and put things together and pitched at a few production companies and that's it, away we go.
I remember that. I was, Olympics was 2000, wasn't I? I can't, what was I? I was probably, 14 or something. But Sydney was crazy around then.
Yeah, it was full. It was nuts. It was, and the thing is, it was in August, sort of towards the end of August, and for some reason we just got this cracker weather. It was like 30-degree days, and it was perfect for the beach. And, beach volleyball, Bondi Beach. It basically put, Bondi's always been on the map for years and years, but that sort of really lifted it around the world. And I think because the weather was so good and there's plenty of stuff out there with the backdrop of Bondi, with the waves in the background, and it was just an amazing sight and couldn't have got better weather. It made it even better.
Yeah, so, I mean, Bondi's always kind of been the, most famous Australian beach.
Yeah,
I think even before that. But
before that.
It would have just been insane.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably when they took those photos where you can't see any sand.
Yeah.
Because it's just thousands
and thousands of people. In capacity, we're about, I think they did a study on per square metre of the sand, and if everyone sat next to each other, it's about 40,000 people. So
wow.
And that's on the beach, yeah. So it's crazy stuff. But then you add up all the people in the park, people coming and going. There's probably nearly 100,000 probably on a busy day that from the sun up to sundown coming through and leaving, and it's just amazing.
I was talking, my roommate at the moment, she spent a bit of time lifeguarding. She was in the States.
Yep.
She was in Florida doing it. And she was saying how it was an interesting experience for her because there weren't really any people from overseas. There were a lot of people that would come from Middle America who'd never seen the water, and they hang out on the beach and they get pissed drunk. They just get hammered, and then they go in and they have no idea what they're doing, and they've got to drag out these Middle American Southern people who've got no idea what they're doing. But and then she was saying that was hard enough with Americans, people who speak English. But Bondi is such a huge tourist destination. I mean, there's got to be a huge amount of people who you can't even communicate with who are out there who've maybe even never. Yeah,
there's heaps. One can't float, so they, some of them we rescue probably drown in the swimming pool, and it's something that is amazing that if you're that bad, but you still want to go into the water. And I suppose they've come all the way from wherever overseas. And,
it's worth it.
And it's worth drowning if you're going to put your foot in Bondi Beach.
As long as your mates get it on Instagram.
That's right.
It's worth a crack.
So, it's amazing the language barrier. So many people, trying to communicate to them. And it's hard doing the rescues because you got the impact zone with the waves breaking and you need to get them on the rescue board. They don't speak English. They don't know how to lie on it, and you often see that they're lying on their backs or they're lying the wrong way around. You just got to do the best you can to get them back in, and it can be pretty comical at some stages.
Yeah, especially if they're in that kind of state of freaking out.
Just
grab them by the pants and yank them on.
That's it. You put them on, but if they lie face on their back, but facing you, because when you're on the rescue board, you're supposed to have them on their stomachs. So you sort of lie on top of their ass.
Yeah, right.
But when they're the upside the other way, a bloke, and you got to. It's not the most compromising position to be in.
That's great. I suppose, if you're going to save someone's life, it's worth the embarrassment.
That's right.
You get real intimate real quick out there in the surf.
Yeah, that's right.
The language barrier is not important, you still really get to know each other.
That's right.
So there's a ton of people coming out here, aren't there?
Yeah, there's tons. So many people come and visit and come and go, and it's amazing. Some days, you could be in another country. There's so many people around. Might get a whole lot of Brazilians down here, or people from India, and or Scandinavian countries.
Wow,
and it's amazing sort of sights.
Yeah, wow. I'm on the northern beaches, in Collaroy, which is, the northern beaches in itself is pretty chill.
Yeah,
and Collaroy is like an in between beach kind of. So there's not a whole lot going on there. So it's like my own private beach. I wander down in the morning, and there's nothing going on. It's great. Yeah. And then that's why I never come to Bondi, because one, it's pretty far, but two, it's like, man, I got my own little private beach. There's no surf. There's nothing to worry about.
Collaroy's pretty small there.
It's pretty mellow, man. Yeah. We had a shark not that long ago. There was a couple of blokes who were sitting up in the beach club, and they must have been having a couple of rashes, and they had their phone out and they were filming, and they were, Jesus, look at this one. It was huge. I mean, of course, there's always sharks out there.
Always,
But just when you catch one right by the pier, and I swim every day, and I was thinking, wow, this is it kind of urged me a little closer towards the ocean pool, because that was pretty close to where I was swimming. But he was pretty big.
Big, and it gives you a different perspective, isn't it? When you swim there all the time and don't see anything, but when someone sees one, it just you're a bit hesitant then.
Well, even if it's just that dark shadow in the water, and you can see how big they are, and we've all seen the movies. Oh man, you just don't. You just don't stand a chance.
No, you don't. If it's going to get you, it'll get you before you even see it.
Yeah.
A lot of people around here say it's better if you see them, because if you see them, they're not really in that attacking mode.
Okay.
It's when you're there and suddenly bang and hit you.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
They're a predator.
They're a predator that they're a stealth that
Yeah.
they come from the depths and you don't see them, and then they just hit you, and like they hit the seals, and
they're gone.
That's how they feed.
Well, it's like, I guess, you ever watch your cat, and the cat's like doing this little creepy thing, and it's pretty good.
That's
right,
you
transfer that to a shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got no chance.
No chance at all.
Yeah,
no,
if you see him, you're like, oh, he's full.
Yeah.
He's had a feed.
That's it. He's had a feed already.
Yeah. Do you get any shark situations here?
Oh, we always
do you have any that you've
we always see
experienced?
them come through. They come through, a lot of the times. We had the Clever Boy, which is a shark detection system out there, and in that we did a 3-week trial.
What's it called? Clever Boy?
Clever Boy, it is. Yeah. So it's
That's great.
It's a sonar system that it does it on the way that the sharks sort of swim, the swimming patterns of sharks, and it picks up everything. So it sort of shows up a green light if it's like a bait ball coming through. It's the size of a shark because of the bait ball, but it's not swimming in the same pattern. And then dolphins and everything, it gives a yellow because it's getting close, but it's not real sure. But the red will go up when it's a shark.
Okay.
And I think we had about...
so they can read what animal it is.
It reads what it is. It's pretty smart. And then it
is a clever boy.
Yeah, it's a clever boy.
Or in America they call it a clever buoy.
A buoy, yeah, that's it. It's something that we had about, I think, 80 sharks come through in that 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
and they're just hanging out.
Just hanging out, swimming through and chasing fish, and that's about it. We've only had one shark attack here at Bondi in 80 years.
Okay.
There was a board rider probably 6 or 7 years ago, and he was paddling back out. It was dark. It was sort of like that 7:30 at night, and the bait ball was around, and he just happened to paddle through the bait ball. The bait ball's moved to where he was, and he just put his arm in, and obviously there's faster and slower fish. So the sharks just grabbed hold of his hand and ripped his hand off.
Took his hand?
Yeah, took his hand. So,
Jesus.
But that's the only attack in 80 years.
Okay.
So,
there's something intriguing about that. As we were saying before, if they want to get you, they'll get you. Like
that's
they can, but the fact that there's so few
That's right. We're not even on their radar, really. I think it's a mistake. It's just a matter of that we're in that way where they're chasing, whether it's fish or seals or whatever they're chasing, and you just happen to be sitting on your surfboard and
you're in the way.
Or swimming, you're in the way, and it looks a bit slower to what they're chasing, so they'll have a go at that. And once they grab it, they go, oh, well, that's not what I want, and keep going.
Why do you reckon they don't want us, though?
We're not. I don't think we're on their food menu.
Yeah, I guess not.
I think it must be our taste and no good.
It could be something as simple as that.
Because they don't really eat us like crocodiles will just put you away and keep feeding on you. But the shark will just take a bite and run away.
Yeah, you just have a nibble and go, no, not for me, thanks.
Not for me.
But the crocodiles will have you as a full meal.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you've got an easier job than the swamp lifeguards.
That's right.
If that's a thing.
Yeah, I think I'd rather a shark than a croc.
Yeah, man. There's something rough about it. There's something like that kind of reptilian thing with the crocs and and how the snakes do that thing where they wrap you up and they kind of mess with you for a while. The crocs seem to do the same thing.
They do the same thing. That death roll and it's just a bit horrific.
It's rugged, dude.
Yeah.
I was actually watching Steve Irwin's son on his Instagram the other day, and there's this little video where he's running into the forest and he's found a little snake and I was like, wow, it's happening. Yeah. He's doing it.
He's doing it. Yeah.
He's becoming Steve. Not that, we want Bob to be whoever Bob is, but the fact that he was like, wow.
Yeah.
It was
it's like he's very similar, and I've watched some stuff with him,
Yeah. He's a real, he's a very artistic kid though too, but it's just funny to be like, everyone kind of wants him to carry on Steve's legacy in that little moment of, it's like, oh, there's a snake. And then he's running after the snake, the complete opposite reaction to most humans. I was like, wow. You're doing it, Bob.
You're doing it, yeah.
People are going to love you.
Well, we had Steve Irwin down here in the day. He was down at Bondi, and we put him on the show, and he was getting around in his khaki gear, and it was funny watching that. His big boots on the beach and his khaki gear, and
a little bit out of his element.
Yeah, he was.
So you hung out with him?
Yeah, he was down one day. He was down doing some stuff for media, and then he popped down to Bondi Beach, and we whacked him on the show, and
cool.
he was really into it.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good dude, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was just like, I think that's why it worked so well, because he was just
I think it's just him. He's just
Yeah.
natural. He didn't fake anything or put anything on it. It's just a matter of that's who he is, and it came across that way.
He kind of embodied the real life version of the Crocodile Dundee thing, that kind of Australian stereotype.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think a lot of people thought that he was turning it on.
Yeah.
But
he wasn't. No,
that's just how he was.
That's how he was.
I mean, you go to the country and that's how people are.
Yeah.
Everyone knows a bloke like Steve Irwin. They're just
right,
it's not famous for
That's
it.
right. Yeah.
They've got a bit of a mullet and they run around chasing things and don't seem to feel any fear whatsoever.
That's right. And and I think that the reason Bondi Rescue has been successful is we're just doing a job that, rescuing people, and we're just playing ourselves. And a lot of people say that when they come down and see us, and from all around the world, they go, "Oh, you're exactly the same as on TV." Because I think a lot of people, when they watch TV, think of actors and the whole thing's like an acting thing.
Yeah.
And then when they meet us, it's you're exactly the same, because we're basically just like a Steve Irwin playing ourselves.
Yes. Well, I think that's it. That's why it's been so well received overseas.
Yeah. Larry can bagging each other and
having
a bit of fun. And then on the other side, it's serious where we're rescuing people and bringing people back to life. So it's,
right.
a bit of both.
Yes. Well, that was something that really intrigues me is the being in situations of trauma. That was something that I wanted to really pick your brains about. Because so for me, for instance, I could never do it. My dad is a retired dentist.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this morning, actually. I quite insensitively, when I was a kid, would ask him, "Oh, did you make anyone cry today, Dad?" All that kind of nasty stuff. Sorry, Dad, that was a bit slow to me. But, he was in a position where he would do things that people needed done to them that was not an enjoyable experience, and being around a lot of blood and that kind of thing. But he's in a dental surgery, it's a pretty controlled environment.
That's right.
But even that, for me, the prospect of me being a dentist, because there's dentists in my family, I was just like, I just can't. I can't. My wife got her appendix out, and she had this tiny little surgery, and it's like a bit of blood in her belly button, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, baby, you're bleeding," and then almost passed out.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm scared of it, but my body can't handle it. I just go, nah, I just go white, and I freak out, and it's like if I get a needle, I think I'm going to vomit, and I quite often do.
Yeah.
So, for me, being in a situation of trauma like that, I wonder if it's just a personality thing where certain individuals can handle it and others can't.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's we've had people come through as lifeguards and they get to a point where they're dealing with all that, and we deal with a lot of that stuff on a daily basis. And I think they've got to move on because they get to a point where they can't deal with it. I mean, we get a lot of surfboard injuries with big gashes to the head or the leg or somewhere. And also we get a lot of body retrievals as well, because we're renowned here. We cover the Gap, so that's renowned for suicide.
Wow.
So we get a lot of that as well that we've got to deal with. So, it can be pretty horrific, some of the injuries that we get.
Yeah, wow. So is that, that's a heavy thing. Do you, because I wonder too about, like, I've got a friend from school who he's a paramedic.
Yep.
And he was telling me about taking on this job as a paramedic. And I remember thinking, there's got to be something. Obviously, there's individuals that can handle it, and there are some that can't. But there's got to be something that you do to be able to get used to it. Like, is that something for you that has been a problem, or have you just been able to? Yeah,
I've always been able to do it. The funny thing is, I've been able to do it when I'm treating other people.
Yeah.
But if I cut myself, I'm a bit like you. I nearly want to pass out. That's when it happens to me, and I'm going, I deal with this every day.
Yeah.
But when it happens to me, and maybe because you know what the injuries are, maybe, and
right.
But but dealing with other people, it hasn't been too bad.
You've never had that kind of queasiness.
No, I've been okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it's built in. I think it's a personality thing.
Yeah, and I think it can probably be strengthened as well.
Yeah, you get used to it a bit more as you deal with it. And,
yeah. Because I wondered too, there's those scenarios where, as you were saying, surfers that have been that big gash on their head or something like that, and you're around people that are going through a traumatic experience, and that's got to be pretty heavy.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the worst one I've seen is a girl. She was a tourist and hired a board and went out, and she went over the falls, and the board landed on the bottom of the wave upside down. And as she went over the falls, she came down with the leg onto the fins and just went in. And then the force of the wave then just sliced it. It must have taken like from a groin right down to a knee and just opened up this just flesh just opened up and
wow, right down
down a leg, and it was just horrific. Like, it's just how wide it was, and
wow,
and then trying to deal with that. And she was
Did you pull her out of the water?
Yeah, so she got pulled out of the water, and then pretty much she was passed out. I think that the shock and the trauma of it. Yeah, she was losing a lot of blood, and we had to really work quick to bandage it up to try and stop the bleeding and get down the the ambulance. And
she made it through.
Yeah, she was okay. She got through and went off, and I think they had to operate on her leg to try and put it all back together.
Yeah, a lot of probably tendon and muscle damage.
A lot of tendon muscle damage.
Yeah.
And lucky though, I don't think it hit the main artery. If it had hit the main artery in the leg, that's
you
bled out pretty quick.
How did it not?
Yeah, I don't know how it missed it. Yeah, so it's amazing though how when you do get a major gash that the body sort of doesn't bleed as much. It sort of, the flesh sort of holds it all in.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's like it clots itself. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's amazing things. If you get some pressure on, you can really stop it. But obviously, if you cut an artery, that's a bit different.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. They're the ones that shoot.
Yeah,
aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man.
And we've had a few of those, and you've gone down, and it's shooting blood out.
Wow, like something out of a horror film.
Out of a horror film. Yeah, so it's pretty traumatic, some of the stuff, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I'm trying to I can't help but put myself in that scenario, even as you, like as a lifeguard. Is there a moment when you're seeing that and you're like, holy shit, this is real bad, and you have
you do that, and you you just take a step back. But the problem is though, is you're trained to try not to show the person, because if I start panicking, the person thinks they're nearly dead.
Of course.
So that's the other problem. You can set them off as well. So you got to try and keep them calm and keep them calm and just do what you need to do. So there's a fine line on how much your facial expression can come across.
I guess, you're dead right, man, because you've got to be, the psychology of how to deal with someone in a state of trauma is probably very tactical.
Like say you've cut your leg open and I come down and you're thinking, oh, he's going to help out. And then I start panicking. I'm pretty sure you're going to pass out pretty quick.
Yeah, that's true. The lifeguard's starting to vomit. He's trying to help me, but he's bent over vomiting.
That's right, yeah.
That's why I'm not a lifeguard. And that's why you are. Wow, man. Yeah, I guess you're right. You're right. And do those things ever stay with you?
Yeah.
You're able to let them go?
Look, the small stuff does. I think the first dead body I had, I still visually can see the face, and that's something that sticks by you. I mean, as you do it more and more and more. I mean, I've been here now 28 years, so I've dealt with a fair bit. But it does come back to you. And I think the suicide, like I do a lot of work with the Are You OK and things like that because of what I deal with down here. And I mean, there's sometimes, I tell people when I do talks that just because you jump off a 100-metre or 200-metre cliff doesn't mean you're going to die instantly.
Oh, wow.
So that's the problem. A lot of people will go, because we cover the gap and everything. A lot of them go off the golf course up here at North Bondi as well. And, they've got horrific injuries, but they don't die instantly. But they might die, like you're holding in their arms, and then they die then. But they've got injuries that probably they're going to die at some stage.
Mm.
But it's horrific just seeing that, and they sometimes when they jump, there's no guarantee. It just depends how you land. And I've seen some horrific, like one guy that stands out was he went feet first. Can you imagine hitting rocks feet first? It's just jammed everything back up through his pelvis and fractured, broken pelvis and shattered everything.
Yeah.
But when I got up there, he was talking to me like we're talking.
Wow.
But because the shock and everything took over.
The adrenaline.
He was it was only a matter of minutes before he was going to die because he just had so much internal injuries. He was never going to survive.
But his pain was just shut off.
But his pain was shut off, and we were just chatting, But the problem with the ones that survive then starts saying, oh, can you tell my mum this, my dad this, or my kids this, or my whatever, because they know they're dying. And there's not one actually out of all those. They all say they regret it. Yeah. It's just that split second that they make that decision, and it's quite sad, but they don't realise with us lifeguards, paramedics, police, and all that need to deal with all.
You're the ones that have to deal with it.
We deal with it. Then you become a part of the grieving process with the families because they come down later on, days after, and want to see the final sort of people that dealt with them, and then you're talking to them, and it's just a weird sort of process that you become involved with.
Yeah, that's a really probably the darkest place in a stranger's life that you could just be confronted with.
Yeah, that's right. Because we're first responders to anything that happens out on the beach. You know, if someone's in trouble in the water, or there's board rider injuries, or people around the cliffs, you know, fishing and everything like that, we're the first ones to get there. And because we've got the jet skis now, we can get to the gap in a couple of minutes. Whereas the time they call the police boats, you know, they're coming out of like Glee or Birkenhead Point and Balmain and that. It's a half an hour boat ride around. So, you know, we can get there and hold the body until they get there, but it can be pretty traumatic.
Oh man, yeah, that's a really heavy day at work.
Yeah. I mean, we probably get now probably one a week on average.
Wow.
Some weeks might be 4. So,
really,
you know, it's pretty heavy. It's something that, you know, the guys try and deal with. We have counselling and things like that to try and deal with it. But, you know, as we were saying before, that's something that gets to the point where you can't sort of do anymore. It's like that's the way it is.
Is that something that you think has that gotten worse?
I think, yes, it has compared to the 90s. I mean, we used to get them here and there, but I think it's more consistent now than what it was. And I think for whatever reason, I think maybe social media and a lot of stuff has a lot to do with it. People are trying to, they're looking at other people's lives and then think mine's not that good because it looks like everyone else is doing this fantastic stuff. And I think it really affects the younger kids.
It really does. There's a lot of information out there to show that I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what's happening. You know, people are looking at this curated kind of, well, because I think the problem is that people are making their own fame with their Instagram or whatever.
That's
it
right.
is. So it's not.
Anyone can be popular. Really,
but it's not a real version of it.
That's right.
Because it's their own. It's like an ego version of it because they make their own thing and they post their perfect photo. I mean, I've done it. You know, you take
we all
a few
do
photos.
We've all done it.
You pick the best photo.
It's rare you put a shit photo.
Yes, but when your mate tags you in something and you look and you go, oh, geez, that photo sucks. You go, look at my gut in that photo or something. You know,
right. You're always critical of the photo. Yeah, that's right.
But that's kind of what it used to be. Whereas people would just take photos and you'd be like, you see it in a couple of weeks when it gets developed.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas now it's like, people can change the way they look, and I think that is rippling out towards. That problem is creating a problem for people, especially young people.
Yeah, and a good example. I was away a while ago, and there was a couple and that, and they were arguing and just they had a shit time. Like they were just in a bad space and all this, and they didn't have a good time at all. But then during that afternoon, the next day, they're posting how great this. So only that I was there and saw it, that people looking at it on social media were going, oh, how great, they must be having a great life and holiday, blah, blah. And then I'm thinking, but they've portrayed this over here, but realistically, it was no good at all. But people don't see that side of it. And I think that's the problem is people just keep seeing this and going, well, my life's shit compared to, look at all these people are going away, they're doing this, they're doing that. And, you know, their life seems so good. At the end of the day, it's probably not as good as what the person is looking at it.
Mate, I've felt it. I have an interesting relationship with Instagram, and I don't do any of the other ones. I don't spend any time on Facebook. I don't do Twitter, and it's because they feel poisonous to me. Like a lot of the time, like Twitter feels really kind of toxic. It's people either trying to be funny or shitting on other people, and you know, it's not all that, but there's so much of that. I often think, you know, when I open up Instagram or anything like that, what is my state before compared to afterwards? I mean,
and you can get caught up with it. You can get caught up with the whole thing. And I think
and I compare myself. I leave from, you know, taking a crap to being like, oh, right, I've had a dump, but now I feel even more shit.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's just, you know, it's a weird sort of society now, and it's hard to try and pinpoint things, but I see it all the time down the beach, and it's
interesting
crazy.
how you're in a field where you are the first line of witnessing the repercussions of the kind of effects of what's happening in our society.
And I mean, we see people that fall off the cliffs and that it's all from trying to get selfies.
Oh, wow.
So they try and take selfies and get in the right position, but not realising another 3 steps, you fall off the cliff.
Selfie-related deaths.
Yeah. So it's crazy how it's created another part of our job, trying to manage that.
Well, I wonder too if there's like so there's certain instincts that I have lost because of my phone. Like for instance, I used to know how to get around Sydney. I used to know if I was going from if I had to go somewhere, I would get out the Sidways map and I'd write a list the night before and I'd go, I know that one. I'll take that road. And then if you're going where the next day, if I take a wrong turn, I've got to either stop and open the map again or I just figure it out. Whereas now that's gone.
That's gone. Yeah.
It's all in my phone. So I wonder if that's happening with the ocean too. A certain amount of people, they go out and they stand there and they would read the ocean. They look at it and they go, okay, I know what's going on today. Whereas other people, you just check the surf report.
Yep. And I think that's another problem is that all the websites. So people sit at home and look at it and just go, oh, yeah, that's good or that's no good, but I'm going down the beach. And you're right, they've just looked at it on the website, turn up to the beach and then don't reassess at the beach and
how
just
the beach
head in.
Actually feels.
That's right. And just head straight in and the next thing you know, they're in all sorts of trouble. And the like rips, I mean, 90% of rips will just take you out, drift around, and drift you back onto the sandbank.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's
right.
It's
90% of it.
90%.
Wow.
We did it with these sort of like a drone in the water where they all GPSed and everything, and they floated around. And out of, I think it was we did it for 6 hours for a test. A university group came down, and out of 6 hours, only one got out past the break.
Really?
The rest just kept washing around inside the break and they get washing back to shore.
Okay.
Drift along the shore, back into the rip, and out it went. And that's how we teach kids now is
just hang out.
Get in the rip, float with it, and then it'll drift you back to the sandbank or back to where the waves are breaking, which will push you back to shore. Because my theory is, and I've been saying it for a long time now, if you float, you can't drown.
Yeah.
And there's this theory of like, you're going to end up in New Zealand, you're going to, you know.
And that is a fate worse than death.
That's right. I know, you don't want to end up there. And I think that's why people panic and then drown.
Yes,
they
exactly.
think they're going to New Zealand.
It can't be worse than New Zealand. Take me now.
So, you know, and there's all these theories of rips pull you under and it doesn't. What it is, it's just the lactic acid build up in your arms from trying to frantically swim. And, you know, when you exercise, you get lactic acid.
Yeah.
The panic, and then suddenly you just can't keep yourself afloat.
Yeah, the panic kills you.
Yeah, that's what kills you. So,
yeah, right.
And for some reason, every human wants to, where they enter, they want to exit in the same place they entered.
Okay.
And that's the whole problem. So the rip will take you away from the beach.
I don't want to walk up the beach.
Yeah, and they go, hang on. So they try and swim or get themselves back to where they went into. It's crazy.
You know why? It's probably because they don't want to leave their phone because they've got to update their Instagram.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, no, that makes sense though, because I've done it. You know, you have that instinct where you're out in the water and you go, and I'll look back and I go, oh, geez, I've drifted a bit.
Yeah. So you're trying to go back to
where I was.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy theory, but it's just, that's all you need to do. You need to
just
float,
lie back,
just float and go with it, and
it'll
be right. It's only 10% that actually go out past the breaking waves.
Yeah, right.
So, and even then it'll stop, and then you can just drift around to the back of where the surfers are generally sitting, and then come.
So it's never going to like suck you way, way, way out.
No, I mean, there's days when you'll see the rips running out, and you'll see that probably at Collaroy and at Narrabeen, you'll see it too. When it's big, it'll go out further.
Yeah.
But generally when it's that big, there's not many people going to be out there. And if you're out there, you're pretty experienced anyway. Yeah. And you're using the rip to get out.
Yep.
So,
yeah, right.
But if you look at all drownings around Australia, there's been, last year I think it was 111. And that's backyard pools to rivers to oceans to whatever. And the problem is every single drowning was in no more than 2 to 3 foot surf. And
really?
to dead flat. So majority were dead flat.
So what's going on?
No waves at all.
What do you think?
It's just when people can't stand up, they panic.
It's the panic.
Just the panic that kills them.
Yeah.
If you relax, like if you're in a backyard pool, if you're in a lake, if you're in a river, if you float, you can't drown.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
It's impossible. And even if you can't get back, and I always see that people say I can swim. I said, yeah, but how far can you swim? Like people think they can swim if they can swim a 25-metre pool, right?
Yes.
So that could be, say, 40 strokes.
Yes.
So I said, yeah, you can swim 40 strokes.
Yes.
But if you're out in the middle of a river and you swim your 40 strokes and you're not standing up, what's going to happen? You're going to panic and drown.
Yes.
So,
and you've probably gone nowhere because the river's probably
moving or pulling or whatever it's doing, yeah. So, I use the example like I can swim there'd be a point where I could swim to and then I probably couldn't swim anymore. So if I swam out to sea and kept going, as long as I can swim, well then what I do then, I'm just going to start panicking. I was like, I can't keep myself afloat.
Exactly.
So if you break it all down and you can reduce a lot of drowning, I think, if people start doing that with the, not panicking and just floating. And we're teaching little kids now, 12 months old.
Yeah. Wow.
How to float in nappies, clothes, shoes, if they're falling in a backyard pool.
Yeah.
And you just put them face down, roll them over and keep sort of doing it. Eventually you let them go and they're face down, they'll just roll over and they'll just float there on their back.
Wow.
So
it's the perfect time because they're more malleable in their mind. They don't have the arrogance of saying, I can swim.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're just trying to do all that training too to try and help people, but because it's getting worse. And I think Australia's lost that beach culture as well because so many people have moved from around the world and they're coming to Australia, so multicultural now.
Mm. But
the parents that are then having kids here aren't sort of instilling that beach culture as what we used to have back in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
I think that's actually a profound little tip.
Yeah.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
Above everything else.
That's right. Because I always tell people if you're driving a car or whatever you're doing, if you panic, right, you're a good chance of crashing.
Yeah, well, you're gone. You're not conscious.
Yeah.
You're not in control of your behaviour if you're panicking.
That's right.
Do you meditate at all?
No, not really.
Right.
I probably should.
It sounds like you're kind of able to maintain a relatively calm state of mindfulness.
I don't know whether it's built in my personality, but whenever something major happens at the beach or there's a resuscitation or there's any sort of, it's like everything, when you hear athletes say that they had that moment when they raced a 100-metre sprint, it was just like everything just was in slow motion or playing footy. Everything just comes down to it's like I've got a heap of time to make decisions. It's like,
wow,
slows right down.
Wow.
It's like everything's in slow motion, but it might only be 2-3 seconds.
Wow.
It's just weird how that happens, but it must be built in. I don't think it's something you can train. It must be something that's built in.
I think it might be a bit of both. I think it's definitely in you.
Mm.
And I mean, the desire to put yourself in this field where you're going to be around people who are freaking out and potentially have to save their life. I mean, there aren't that many people who would want to do that, right?
No,
I mean,
that's right.
Do you find there's a similar mould of people who are
They are, yeah. It's a similar mould for lifeguards. It's funny when you break it all down, they're similar sort of personalities and we don't get a lot of people applying. It's something that's been difficult over the years, and I think you're right. It's certain people can only do this job, and the same as a paramedic or a fireman or any type of emergency job. I think people have to have that built-in personality to be able to deal with the stuff you got to deal with. Yeah,
I reckon there's got to be that innate ability to be able to just not let it get in.
Yeah.
Because I know for me and for my wife, the people I'm really close to, I don't know if I certainly know I just wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
It'd just tear me up.
Yeah.
I'd freak out.
Yeah.
And I think that if I were in a emergency situation, I could do what I need to do.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I'd be done.
Yeah.
I'd be a mess.
Yeah. That's
like
right.
It'd stay with me for way too long, and then I wouldn't be able to. If I had to go to work and do it again the next day, I don't know if I could do it.
If you could do that,
yeah.
Yeah, I know it's tough, but I suppose everyone's good at what they do. I suppose.
Yeah. You just get over it. I love it. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's right. I'm trained to do a job, and I do the best of my ability, and the outcome is I've done everything I possibly could.
Yeah.
Whether the person survives or doesn't survive, I can't control someone jumping off a cliff or deciding to go in for a swim in the rip, and their ability of swimming is not that good, and something happens, we've done the best. We've put everything in place that we can to try and minimise all that, but you're never going to stop anything 100%.
No. Yeah, that's right. And I guess, as traumatic as it might be, you're doing something.
That's right.
You're trying to help.
Yeah, you're trying. Yeah, you're trying.
Your intention is to potentially save someone's life.
That's right.
Which is a pretty nice thing to do for someone.
Yeah, it is. Well, the amazing thing's the resuscitations. You know, we've done so many resuscitations over the years, and like one minute you see a person there in front of you, and they're not breathing, no pulse, just dead in front of you, and you're working on them to get them back. And these days with the defibrillators, it's a lot better. Your success rate is a lot better. And the funny thing is, you see them in that situation, you get them back, they go off to hospital, and sometimes they'll come back like a week's later to say thank you and things like that. And they look like a total different person. It's amazing how different they look. And you think, geez, this person I'm talking to now was dead about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, wow.
And you think, well, if we didn't do what we did, you know, they may not have survived. And, you know, they come back with their family and they're all happy that, yeah, thanks for saving. You know, there's a guy that is a longboarder here, he's grown up around here, lives at Tamarama. He had a heart attack while he's riding a wave and just fell off in the water, and people grabbed him because he didn't respond. We ended up reviving him, and then he, to this day, is you see him around all the time, and you think, you know, that was probably 15 years ago. So
wow,
what you did then, it's a privilege for all the lifeguards to go, well, what we did then has given his family, him, another 15 years of life, and it's something that I don't think we sit back enough to think about, that the impact and what we've done that really, really helps.
Well, you know what? That's my job. I'll sit there and think about it. You go save the people, and I'll think about it.
Think about it,
because maybe if you think about it too much, like me, you won't be able to do it.
That's right. I think maybe that's the secret. Don't think about it, because you probably won't do it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think you're spot on. Yeah. So the resuscitations is very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
How long have you got? Like, how long does a person have if they are?
Oh, look, I've done ones where you can keep going for probably 30 odd minutes, or as long as you're doing a good compressions and you're giving the oxygen. What it is you've got to. So we're sitting here now, and your heart's beating, and it's putting oxygen in the blood, and then your heart, it's pumping that around the body that keeps the brain going and everything. So if you manually do the CPR and the compressions with the breaths, and that's keeping the oxygen in the blood, and you're keeping that all going. So you're manually just doing it. So if you do that correct, you can keep people going for a long time. But that's not going to get them back. You need the defibrillator, or when the paramedics come with the drugs and start putting that in, that they can get the person back.
So you're essentially being a life support machine.
Pretty much. You're a life support. Yeah. But now we've got the defibs. If we put a defib on, you know, with a minute, like if you drop now and I had a defib, put it straight on and did everything, you've probably got a 90% chance to get the person back.
Really?
In the first minute. And then you probably lose 10% every minute from there.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know, you've got a pretty good chance. The quicker you get them on, the better. And I mean, there's defibrillators everywhere now, and a lot of people use them around. You know, we've got 3 here at Bondi. Every beach has got them. And so you're a good chance that, you know, it was a saying on the show, the first series we did for Bondi Rescue, we had a Japanese guy, young guy, dropped on the shore, and we got him back. And when he went to St. Vincent's, the surgeons there said, well, there's 2 places, either drop on the steps at St. Vincent's Hospital or Bondi Beach is the next best bet, because we had so much success with these defibrillators. And, you know, that's something that's really good that's coming from the surgeons, and it definitely changes the game, because prior to that, we lost a lot of people in the 90s because there wasn't any defibrillators.
Right.
So we had to wait for the ambulance to come. You're looking at another 10 minutes. You know, your timeline starts, you know, going out a bit.
Oh, it starts dwindling.
Yeah.
So how does that work? It's literally an electric shock on your heart.
Yeah, you just put the pads on, they stick on,
yeah,
and then the volts just and it won't. You can't shock unless it tells you. The machine talks to you.
Yeah, right.
So once it finds that rhythm,
it
will then tell you to shock, and then you just press the button and it shocks and sends the shock through, and then it'll analyze again to see if it's got any picks up any pulse, and if it doesn't, it'll tell you to continue CPR.
Yeah,
and then it'll tell you to shock again down the track. So,
Jesus,
yeah, it's an amazing tool.
Can you imagine the first bloke to give that a go? Like, I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work. Try it anyway.
Oh, it's working.
Yeah, because I think there's a fair few volts. I think it's about 360 volts in the first one, and then it drops down about 280 or something. But
wow,
yeah, it's a good shock goes through.
That'd sting if you're awake. You'd feel it.
Yeah, you would feel it.
Wow. Well, that's okay. So that's fantastic. So that is enabling you to really bring a lot more people back.
Yeah, definitely. And you see it now where everyone's getting trained and they've got them in golf clubs and they've got them in RSL clubs, and there's a lot of places now having them, which is, when you go up through Westfields and things like that, you see them sitting on the walls all around the place, and it's something that, it's saving a lot of people's lives.
Wow. The resuscitation process of you always see in the movies and TV with people giving CPR, and it's these like tiny little pushes, but that's not the way you're supposed to do it, right?
No, it's a bit more aggressive. Usually you break a few ribs and
right.
that
So that's the truth is you kind of, because you have to push on their heart.
Yeah, you're pushing pretty hard, so you're compressing the heart and then out and in. So you're manually doing what the heart should be doing on its own.
And and the rib cage is in the way. So that's got to go.
Yeah, you often can break ribs and things like that. So I think on the movies it's because the person is actually alive.
If they could get the dummy in for that shot and just shoot from the waist down.
So
okay. Well, my roommate, she was telling me one of the rules is you can, don't worry about the ribs because you can fix broken, but you can't fix dead.
Yeah, that's right. And even on that bony bit on your chest, it becomes like, by the time you keep going, it becomes real spongy. It's like a sponge in there.
Wow.
It's all sort of, but that's what you do. You got no other choice. They're either dead or they're going to wake up with a few broken ribs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small compromise.
That's right.
So that's, I think that would be quite shocking for people to hear. It's quite, because I remember seeing, I think it might have been on the show for the first time. People watch Baywatch and they watch whatever the fuck they've watched, and there's people giving CPR, but I remember seeing someone actually do it, and I was like, wow, that's savage. He's really going to town on that guy.
Yeah, you go pretty hard, and it's it's something that I suppose you just get in that. You've been trained, so you get into that mold, but it can be pretty horrific for people. We call it the ring of death, because when we're doing something like that at the beach, because obviously there's public everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So they all crowd around. So we call it the ring of death. So we're trying to work on a person, but then there's this massive crowd that sort of circles around you.
The
and
energy
watching it
of
all,
that experience must be a very eerie place to be in.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty eerie, and plus, if you've got relatives that are there of the person, they're coming in. I had one lady jumped on top of the husband because he was dying, he's dead, and she just didn't know how to handle it.
Oh wow! And you guys are trying to work.
You've got to, so you got to get her off and everything, and then you always find someone that's going to bless someone, so they're blessing their feet or whatever they're blessing, and so you always find these people that just seem to turn up out of nowhere.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of other things you got to deal with while you're dealing with the poor person that's just dead in front of you.
Wow. Yeah. So I guess those are probably the times when you're in your slow motion zone.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know what happens, but you just go into this slow motion.
You're in the flow state.
Yeah, you're in the flow, And when you look back at the deep, because the defib gives you timelines of what it is, and sometimes you come here, you think, oh, that must have been 15 minutes, 20 minutes or whatever. And sometimes it's only 5 minutes since you've had the defib out on and dealing with it. So
right.
Yeah,
but you've got your steps of what needs to be done, and you just carry them out.
You just carry the steps. And if obviously we've got a few guys working, so you've got other lifeguards that help. So, but everyone knows their role, and you just sort of go into that role. And generally, it's quite hard on the body and the arms doing the compression. So we'll rotate that every cycle pretty much in the compression. So you keep in that. That's the critical thing, is you need to have really good compressions.
Yep.
So once you start fatiguing, the compressions aren't as good. So you need to start rotating guys around, and so one will go to the head with the oxygen, and then the other one and you just keep rotating the whole situation until the ambos get there and they jump in. And so it's a process, but
So I always wonder, how much oxygen are you breathing out of your own? Because it's mostly
no. We've got all the Oxyviva kits now, so it's all 100% oxygen that we're dealing with.
So you squeeze the thing,
we squeeze it, and the air, the bag, and that's just 100% oxygen coming out of the tank. And if we're the cylinder, just swap the cylinder, put a new cylinder in if we're running out of oxygen, but. We always
so it's just a canister kind of thing.
It's just a cylinder that just attaches, and then undo it. New bottle goes on, and
away you go.
So it's away you go. But we're always checking our equipment. So it's already, most of the time they're all full, ready to go. It's only that if we're going for a fair while, we might run out of oxygen. Otherwise, we just replace, after the instant's finished, we just replace the bottle, and
ready for the next one.
New one goes in and ready to go again.
Wow. It's funny that kind of slow motion state you talk about. There's almost like, I've experienced something which is the opposite. which happens from playing music.
Yep.
And I've talked to my buddy Jimmy about this. I was in a band with, and we played in New Zealand in front of. We got a gig supporting ZZ Top.
Yeah.
We played at in Hamilton at the races in front of like 15,000 people, and we were used to playing in front of, closer to 15 people.
Yeah.
And if we were lucky, the biggest gig we played that I'd played was more like 200.
200, yeah.
And that's a lot of bloody people.
Yeah.
So 15,000 people.
It's a bit of a jump.
We coined the phrase stadium mode, right? Which is the opposite, because you forget you're gone. You forget what's happening. Yeah. I woke up in the middle of the gig and realized, oh, I'm back. Okay, what am I? I was like, I don't know what I've sung. I don't know what I've been doing.
Yeah, you've just done it.
I've just done it. I have no recollection of what's just happened. And then my consciousness came back into my body and I was able to function intentionally again. Yeah. Which is the complete opposite of where you're at, which I guess is.
But you're probably fine. You've gone into that zone, and maybe that's what we do. We go into that zone with emergency situation, but you've gone into that zone that,
adrenaline,
the adrenaline that you've done everything you had to do, but you just can't remember it. A lot of times you do rescues and stuff, and in that moment you forget exactly what you did in that. Yeah. Did I do that? Did I do that? And you're sort of double checking yourself with, did I do everything I was meant to do? But you generally have. It's just that mental block is just in such a zone.
It'll be fascinating because the different brain wave states, like the states, like for instance, they say when you're in the shower, the beating water and you kind of gets people into a different thinking state. I think it's theta waves or something. I'm not sure what the terms
I've heard
are.
Of things like that. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to measure what state, what brain state someone is in when you're dealing with.
Yeah. It would be good
emergency
to see.
situation.
Yeah, because the closest we've come, we've had GPS on the heart rate monitors and everything. They've put that on us, and they put it on all day to track how much distance we covered, and our heart rate's going up and down for going into a rescue and coming out of a rescue, and every time it was it was getting up to 180, 200 beats every time you're going in, and when you're about to go, you could see the heart rate was going up until you had to go and exert yourself and get someone back in. Then you go back to this resting, 60 beats or something was the resting, and then up you went again, and that was constant all day. And they did it on a busy day, and everyone covered pretty much nearly over 20 kilometres.
Wow.
Of getting around. Now that's with the bikes. It's not just actually walking, but between walking and travelling with the bike and things like that on the beach. So there's a lot of Ks you're covering, and then with the heart rate, they put it all into the computer and it spat it all out, and it came out equivalent of a day's work as a lifeguard, and it came out as if you played 3 games of footy back to back.
One day. Jesus.
So, it shows how much physical stress that goes onto the body and the mental stress as well.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you just stand out in the sun for that long.
Yeah.
And that does your head in.
Oh, dude,
you start losing it, so.
You must be quite conditioned.
Yeah, you get conditioned.
Yeah. Do you train? Like, do you do cardio training and this kind of stuff to be ready for this? Or
I do a lot of like pool swimming and ocean ski paddling, and then also out in the water you're doing, swims and a bit of gym work to keep the strength there, and so you're constantly doing something every day.
Yeah, I guess your job
twice
is
a day,
training.
and that's right.
Physically to keep you in check. I mean, if you're doing 2 games of footy in a day,
that's right.
3 games back to back, that's pretty good training.
Yeah,
you probably earned a nap.
That's right. You go home stuffed.
Coming back to that element of mindfulness, where that meditative kind of state, it sounds very much like what you're achieving when you're in those zones.
That's right.
Is like a state of, I guess, all kind of ego and bullshit would disappear.
Yep.
Because if it's a life or death situation, I think people really just understand that there's just genuinely no room for that.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you kind of, if you need to delegate something, you delegate. If this needs to be done, this is what's done. Whereas if you tell someone to do something when they're in the office in the same tone of voice, it's not going to go down well. But it's like all that must just disappear.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting state to experience. And obviously these are states of mind and situations in life where most people may never experience a single one in their life.
Yeah, that's right.
Was
we're doing it on a daily to weekly basis, and maybe that, and I have been able to transform a lot of what we do here into your life outside of being a lifeguard as well, and you know how to sort of calm yourself down and get in that mental state that so you're not sort of in that erratic panic,
Yes.
in your normal life outside of here. So it's probably good training, and it probably is like being, doing yoga sessions and
Absolutely.
and things like that.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah. Well, that's what you're doing in that state. Is you're in that meditative state. You're observing your thoughts and the junk that's going on.
Yeah.
And you just kind of watch it instead of letting it drive the bus.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you're saving someone's life, there's no room for that. That's gone.
Yeah.
You got to be like, okay, this is what needs to be done. Yeah. These are the potential options. Go now.
That's what I tell the young guys is before you go rushing in, just take that step back.
Yeah.
And have a bit of a think. It might only be a few seconds.
Yep.
But that's enough to then go in and not just go in 100 miles an hour, like you're saying, that your emotions then start driving the bus and then you're out of control.
Yeah, you can't be too reactive.
And you can't pull all that back. Once you've gone down that path, you're not slowing the bus down at the end.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah. That's a fascinating place. And I can understand why there's the what do you call it, the ring of death?
The ring of death,
Why people are just captivated by it.
They are captivated because you got to think a lot of people watching that have probably never seen that. There's so many people have probably never even seen a dead body.
Yeah.
So, in real life.
Yeah.
There's probably thousands, probably millions of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not something you come across every day.
No, I've never seen it. Yeah. There's going to be a lot that comes along with that. Yeah. And I wonder if there are people in that scenario who are just like I would be, maybe a little bit like, oh, wow, a little traumatized. Yeah. And then there's probably like one out of every 300 that's like, I could do that.
Yeah, that's right.
Sign up to be a lifeguard.
Sign up.
Yeah, where do I sign, mate? Good job there before. I've been doing these cold plunges lately.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been going into, it's not that cold, but I've been going to like the ocean pool, which I learned recently is colder than the ocean.
Yeah, it is, Pools are always colder.
Why is that?
Well, I think the water sits there. It's still as well, so it's not moving, so it gets colder. Whereas the ocean, you always got the currents moving through. Mm-hmm. So you got the warmer current, the colder current.
I guess maybe if there's any wind overnight too, without the sun.
Yeah. So anything that sits there is always going to be colder.
So you've been doing these cold plunges and kind of doing the. Have you heard of this guy Wim Hof?
Yes.
Yeah, been doing a bit of that.
A couple of guys here have done some stuff with him with the breathing and in the ice baths and things like that.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. You should give it a go, man. Yeah. It's quite. I mean, it probably would be no thing for you. You spend so much time in the water anyway.
Yeah, but it's still though. It's I suppose we don't get that cold water here. That like a bath full of ice and
that's pretty. That gets down
that's
to
pretty cold.
That's got to be probably about 5 degrees.
Probably
if you can get cold enough.
Yeah.
I was in the pool of Coleroy not that long ago, last week. And dude, I've never experienced anything that cold. There was a couple of old blokes that I see down there every day, and they love it. Yeah. And one of them, he got in, and he did. He goes, "I'll just do a quick lap," and did a little paddle. And he gets out, and he was kind of cool about it. He was like, "Yeah." I said, "What do you reckon?" He goes, "Yeah, I've never felt it that cold before in my life." So it wasn't just me. I was freaking out. I couldn't even talk. It must have only been about.
Well, that's
12.
like around here with Bronte and that, and the icebergs here and. Yeah, when those old blokes are jumping in every day, if they're getting out saying it's cold, it must be cold. Yeah,
these are hardened swimmers. These blokes.
Yeah,
man. If you get a chance, you should try. Because with the breathing, it's quite a euphoric, almost trippy experience. Yeah, because you get into this state where it's any chatter in your mind is gone, and you're like, wow, I'm here. I'm very present in this. Oh, it's tough. Yeah. It's like the fight or flight.
Well, that's what even cold water when you jump in when it's 15 and you get that, it takes your breath away and you get that ice cream headache and it's hard to breathe in cold water and trying to stay calm and breathe through it, whereas a lot of people would get that really breathing quick and
and the panic kind of too. Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing that I like about it is testing myself in a situation where you physically want to panic, but I'm doing it voluntarily. Yeah. So obviously there's that. I know what I'm doing, but feeling myself kind of freak out a bit and go, no, just slow it down. And it's a weird place. It's quite. It hurts really good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's a hurt, but it's a good feeling hurt.
Yeah, and you feel incredible afterwards. Yeah. But that's not. I'm yet to do the ice bath, so I'll do it, and then then maybe I won't be so.
Yeah, I haven't done many of those, but might be something to try.
Yeah. Well, it's
You try it and let me know.
Oh right, yeah. You certainly know you're alive if you've done an ice bath. Yeah. Shall we wrap it up, mate?
Yeah, that's very good chat.
It's been great to hang out, man. I really appreciate it, brother.
No, it's been unreal. Good chat.
All right, Hop. Cheers, mate. So that was Hoppo. What a legend. That was an incredibly informative conversation. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Oh, I was finished recording and then we kept talking and Hoppo was sharing some other phenomenal wisdom. So I will share it with you now. We were talking about global warming and climate change. And I was asking him if in his years he's noticed any changes in that regard. And he was saying that in his 28 years as a lifeguard at Bondi, he hasn't really noticed any water levels rising or anything like that, but he has seen certain cyclical changes that happen. Like there's a beach nearby that is all just rocks, but then once every 7 years, those rocks get covered with sand and it becomes a sandy beach and you can hang out there for maybe a day, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a whole summer. But then the sand all washes away and it's back to rocks again. But that happens consistently every 7 years. So there are certain cycles like that happen. He said the trash has gotten a lot worse, the rubbish and the junk that's washing up from the ocean and that's just around the oceans in general. He said he's really noticed that getting a lot worse. So on an environmental perspective, things are getting worse. As far as climate change, he said that he hasn't personally noticed anything. Okay, so what else? It was really intriguing to find out more about sharks and how many sharks are swimming out there in the ocean near people and they're not really interested in us from that clever boy system that they've come up with where they can read how many animals are in the water. There's a lot of sharks around and they just don't care. So I don't know whether that's more comforting or less comforting, but we're not on the menu. And if you are, you don't know about it. He's just eating you. So, sharks are going to have lunch too. It does turn out that if you can deal with trauma or you can't. It's something that some people are wired to be able to handle and some people are not. It might just be as simple as that. Hoppo was describing some pretty horrific injuries to me. If I were to see them in a horror film, it wouldn't be a problem. But if it was in real life, for some reason, it really gets to me. But he's able to let it go. And I think if you are going to be a first responder, you have to be able to let that stuff go. It's really heavy to hear about the suicide rates increasing and how many suicides are occurring around the Bondi area and the Gap and how these lifeguards are the first responders and they are the people that find the bodies and deal with these people especially if they haven't died from the incident. That's really heavy. That's something I hadn't even considered. And it's a part of their job that I don't know if there's ever any training for that kind of thing. Not to even mention the people that are in the situation where they want to take their own life. Really, really heavy. Was not expecting that and makes that my respect for the lifeguarding job go up even more. Hoppo mentioned that he works with a charity called Are You OK, which is a suicide prevention charity. Their website is the letters ruok.org.au. So if this is something that you are dealing with or someone in your life is dealing with, go to the website. They have a lot of information. It's a heavy time that we're going through in the world at the moment. People are having a tough time. It's interesting that Hoppo brought up the social media thing because I agree with him. I think it's messing us up and we're trying to figure out a way to make it work for us, but it seems to be hindering us emotionally more so than helping us. It's good to figure out how to survive a rip. Long story short, don't panic. I love his quote. Hoppo kept saying, if you float, you can't drown. So don't panic. A rip will take you out and it'll bring you back. Brilliant. Panic equals drowning. That's the main takeaway from this stuff. Don't panic. Did you like the bit when I bagged out in New Zealand, and as a good fellow Australian, Hoppo jumped on board too, because we're all about maintaining stereotypes here. It turns out that being a lifeguard can be a pretty stressful job. So hats off to you if you're lifeguarding. It's a full on gig, and I didn't realize just how full on it is. And I really appreciated hearing all about it from the David Hassel Hoppo himself. All right. Thanks very much for listening. See you next time.